Well, dozens of community members spoke out at this afternoon's Virginia City Council meeting amid proposed cuts to the city's police and fire departments. The council chambers were packed with many residents speaking in support of first responders. With talking about possibly moving toward a private ambulance service, there was also an agenda item tonight directing city staff to look into a potential hybrid department structure. Well, the city council ultimately voted against seeking proposals for private ambulance service or outsourcing law enforcement. Before those votes, many who spoke were concerned about what changes like that could mean for response times and community safety.
I hope that the city does make the decision to keep the services. We are an aging community, and we need quicker services than would be afforded if we did not have our people in the town.
On the other side, Councilor Justin Skalko defended the proposal, saying that they're only exploring them right now, adding that he appreciates the city's first responders and doesn't want to force them out of a job. But Skalko says that the city's operating budget is not sustainable right now, and he says it could take between 20% and 30% levy increases just to maintain the current city services and staff. He says property tax increases like that could force people out of their homes.
What I'm asking for is simply exploring ideas of how can we bring Virginia back. I have plans, I have ideas that we can do in the future, but there's nobody is going to invest in our city if we keep chasing people out of rates.
The news comes as the city of Virginia is currently investigating wrongful use of sales tax revenue. As we reported recently, we reported that revenue from a 1% sales tax designated for an event center was actually used for general fund expenses. Well, instead, we'll have that latest on story tonight at 10 o'clock with the latest from that meeting.